Hi, my name is Mike, and thank you, Lauren, for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit of my faith walk with all of you, and in particular, how God has been faithful to me in remembering a time when that was the case. I'm also want to congratulate Lauren on the progress that she's making with Hope is Alive and her vision for that ministry. Um, Please keep Lauren in that ministry in prayer as it drives to just do all kinds of goodness in our community. Um, hey, I'm going to start by asking you a question. I don't know if any of you have heard that song, Graves to Gardens. It's a relatively new praise and worship song. I think it's by Elevation Worship. But the first line in that song, I think, goes, I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. And that's really kind of my story that I'd like to share with you today. And really, for the first 35 years of my life, it really was kind of a fairy tale. Um, and it was one that I felt that I was controlling. I had a great childhood, grew up in a loving family. I married my soulmate, my sweetheart, my high school sweetheart. We had three amazing kids. I had education and professional opportunities. My career was on the fast track. So many things were going great, going our way. I was making good money. I traveled all over the world, had all kinds of incredible experiences. Went to Europe and China, Japan, Singapore. Unbelievable fast track lifestyle. I was an inventor on dozens of patents. And my life was filled with just amazing people and amazing opportunities, and had finances and experiences that were just incredible with a bright future. But somehow I was empty. I could never do enough. I could never accomplish enough, and I really just was never satisfied. I could look at the things in my life and for a time be happy, but anybody that knew me back then would not necessarily say that Mike was a happy person or even a peaceful person. I was always in pursuit of something. I was in pursuit of I don't know what at the time, but I was searching, and no matter how much I accomplished or how well I performed, it still wasn't enough, and I felt an emptiness. I was driven to perform and achieve, and that's really what drove me. Well, when our second daughter was about 14 or 15 years old, she started to really find her Christian faith. And through her journey, she would bring contemporary Christian music into the house. And this was into the cars. And this is the time when, like, Jeremy Camp and Casting Crowns and Mercy Me were huge. And through this music, I started to hear the gospel in a different way, and the way in which the lyrics and the music came together just pierced my heart, and it pierced my heart in a way that it really stuck there. And I heard messages of hope, of love, of redemption, of forgiveness, of unconditional love, peace in a way that I just did not recognize or had not recognized earlier. And this music and the messages that were in this music really inspired me to get closer to the Word and really take reading the Bible as something that I really needed to include as part of my life. And through the Word, I found that all the wisdom and the hope that's there, the peace, the joy, really, that I had been looking for. It wasn't like a switch was flipped. Some people have that experience where, in a moment, their life has changed. It was not like that for me. It was more of a process. It was more of a kind of a slow fade of how I used to live my life and view the world to this new way. But maybe just over a few years, my heart and my worldview were completely changed. It really was life-changing time, a really lifetime time transition when I started to live my life that had Jesus and the gospel in the center more and more. But again, that was a gradual process for me. But I began to realize and accept that my identity was that of a child of God, and that I was unconditionally loved and cherished, and God felt that way towards me regardless of how well I performed or how many achievements I had. It just didn't matter. You see, I think before this revelation, my identity, I believe, was just tied up in how well I performed and how many accomplishments I accumulated. And that's who I was. But through His Word, I heard God say, no, it's not like that. I made you a certain way. I gave you certain gifts. Now, I need you to go do the things in my name that those gifts allow you to do. I designed you in a certain way. Now go be that person. So God was faithful in that He showed up and moved me from this performance culture to a relationship culture. He moved me from an environment, a culture, a mindset where my value, and honestly perhaps the value of others, in my view, was based on how well they performed and what they could do. And He says, that's not the life I have for you, and that's not my message in the gospel. You need to move from that performance culture to one that is really relationship based and that values love, peace, joy, all the things that allow you to be complete. That was a game changer. But the crazy thing is that even though I had this heart change, all of the performance and achievement based things continued to happen for the good. So the success, the worldly success, you could say, continued. What was different was how I approached these things. And what I was most concerned now was being a good steward of the gifts, the abilities, the opportunities, the resources that God had put in my life, and that I was using them in a way to glorify Him. I was no longer concerned about what the result would be or what the achievement would be. That all was squarely in God's hands. And so I just became very joyful in how I did my work, and the results were going to be whatever God determined them to be. And I was good with that. So God was faithful in my life, even when I was kind of charging my own course, running my own race towards my own goals. And He showed up through these songs that my daughter brought into the house, brought into our lives, and He changed my heart, and He filled it with a limitless, a bottomless peace, joy, love, and hope. And I've gone from being this driven, empty, searching soul to someone that's simply satisfied and grateful. And that is just an enormous, enormous gift that God has given me and has really shaped my life. And so I just really want to leave you with a message that is very important in my life. And it comes from Philippians chapter 4 and verse 7, where it's shared with us. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. Let me read that again. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, by knowing Him, we have access to a peace that is beyond all understanding. And this peace will guard our hearts and our minds in Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters, God bless you.